Shane Steichen talking to the media today, and what we learned right off the top is that Alec Pierce is going to practice, and that's a really good thing. We also learned that Kenny Moore is not going to practice, not such a great thing, and that Matt Goncalves, we're going to see whether he practices. They're going to work him out and see if he's good to go. Got to be all hands on deck. This is going to be a big game. The 3-1 record becoming 3-2 is not acceptable. Got to be 4-1 after this game. And then you set up an opportunity for yourself against the Arizona Cardinals here at Lucas Oil Stadium, where you can get to 5-1, and from 5-1, all things are possible. You lose one of these games that's winnable, and all of a sudden on the back end of this schedule, things get a little bit murky and a little bit more difficult. And that's why all of these games really, really important. So, and we wind up talking a little bit about A.D. Mitchell and how you try to kind of maneuver him mentally, psychologically toward what the desired impact of having him on the field is. You don't want the impact he had last Sunday against the Rams. You want the impact of him being magical with the football, going and getting separation against cornerbacks and being able to move the sticks and maybe make a huge play like he did Sunday before all of a sudden that huge play took on an entirely different complexion, didn't it? You go from +7 to, hey, they got the ball on the 20, and that can't happen again. How did it happen the first time? How do you make sure it doesn't happen the next time? Also talking about 10 on the field and what happens there. Good questions there. Here's Shane Steichen.
And then on to the Raiders. Obviously a ton of respect for Coach Pete and what he's done in his career. They got a hell of a football team over there. Just offensively, Genty, obviously a top 5 pick, very talented player, very strong at the point of contact, doesn't shy away from contact, strong runner. Bowers is a hell of a player too, can do it all at the tight end position. And then just a ton of respect for Geno and what he's done. Had a chance to be with him for a year, coaching him at the Chargers. Just a ton of respect on his work ethic and how he went about his business, and to see the success he's had in Seattle and now with the Raiders. Just a ton of respect there. And then defensively, got some talented players. Obviously, Crosby's a hell of a football player. Just utmost respect for him. Just a relentless motor guy that makes a ton of plays all over the field. So a lot of respect for these guys. I look forward to the challenge, being back at home. Lucas Oil should be good.
Shane, I know it's early in the season, but I know what happened last week. What's the level of urgency with this team right now, trying to rebound and get this win?
Yeah, I think there's a ton of urgency every week in this league. Obviously, you got to put that behind you, move on. You got to clean up on Monday. Then our guys are in the right mindset, just have that energy that we need and that laser focus in our preparation this week.
Do you expect Alec to practice today?
He will practice today, yeah.
What's that, Kenny cleared?
He's not. He's still in protocol, but he's practicing. I don't expect Kenny to practice today.
Is he still? I guess. Do you have any update on him?
Yeah, he's doing well. He's progressing well. We'll see how each week goes. Obviously, through this week, how it goes, and then we'll go from there.
Will Geno get activated? His practice winning this week?
Not right now.
What are you seeing from Nick Cross in his first 4 games, just in the way he's adjusted to his defense?
He's been great. I think you've seen strides from him each and every year, but his physicality, the way he's tackling, seeing the ball, he does a great job on the back end, especially in the box for us, playing at a high level. Credit to him and his work ethic. He's always in here grinding. And obviously the coaches, Chris and Rome, helping him put him in position.
Shane, has Latu, have you seen anything from Latu specifically that has allowed him maybe to turn a corner? I don't know if it's like he's playing stronger physically. I don't know. I
think just going into year 2, these guys grow and develop, and obviously, their pass rush moves get better, they get stronger, they get faster. Had a hell of a game last week, and just looking forward to that progression each and every week. But really like where he's at.
Shane, a quarter into the season, what have you liked about your football team?
I think we've played pretty good complementary football, through the first 4 weeks. Obviously last week could have been better, but I think our guys have had some good back and forth, the takeaways, getting points off takeaways. I just like the camaraderie of where our guys are at, and through the first 4 weeks it's been solid, but again, it's a week by week, and we got to continue that and continue to get better as a football team each and every week.
Specifically, what do you want to see improve?
Obviously the penalties, we got to improve on the penalties. We've had some good games where the penalties have been low, and then last week wasn't where we wanted to be. And then obviously I think we've been doing a good job of taking care of the football except last week, so just get back to that going forward.
Is there any like common thread with the penalties that you've seen so far?
I think, some of those have hurt us in the red zone, a lot of them, just some early calls there that we got to get cleaned up, and it's just fundamentals and technique. So we addressed that on Monday. We'll address it through practice this week.
Shane, when you were asked a couple days ago about Aiden Mitchell and will he be available against the Raiders, you said, well, he has to earn it. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah, he's got to go through practice and earn it each and every day. How, the meetings, the preparation, and how he prepares and how he practices throughout the week is what it means.
Will he play against the Raiders?
We'll see how the week goes.
You guys have mentioned like he's a hard worker. He's like in early and everything.
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance that? Like expect him to keep up the hard work with this? It was like a lapse of judgment in a game. How do you balance that?
Yeah, I think when you go through adversity like that as a young player, it really brings out the character in a person. And so you're going to have those moments where you don't feel great about a certain situation and something happens. You got to bounce back and you got to be mentally tough through those situations. And go about your business the right way, keep preparing and get better.
Will Matt Gonzalez practice?
We'll see. We're going to work him out and see how it goes.
Coach, you mentioned Genty's running style,
Yeah.
the way he invites physicality. Is that rare for a rookie, in your opinion, and does that present a challenge to your defense?
Yeah, I mean, some rookies are physical off the bat, but he's a powerful runner, very strong. Like I said, he doesn't shy away from the contact, and so it's going to be a physical football game on Sunday with him running the football. So we're excited for the challenge, but yeah, he's just a hell of a player.
What do you think about your run defense so far?
I think we've been pretty solid with the run defense. I think our D-line's been doing a really good job. And again, it's a challenge every week to stop the run. We got another challenge this week.
When it comes to accountability, you mentioned AD talking in front of the team on Monday. I guess what's the balance in the words AD talking in front of the team versus like Anthony's bench last year? What goes from words to actions? How do you view that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think obviously accountability is a big part of this thing. And sometimes the outside world doesn't see the accountability that I talk to you guys about, but it takes place in this building a lot of times, and it's your actions too. After something like that happens, you got to flip a switch and go prove it, because words are words. Words can change your thoughts, but actions, can change, right in here. So, it's about action, going forward.
You talked a lot about accountability with the players and one of the coaching staff as well. Well, for example, you have an issue like the substitution thing that happened with not having 11 guys out there, and Leonard took accountability for that. Well, what does that look like from a coaching standpoint? Because, I don't know, you can't sit a coach like that.
Yeah, there's no question. Obviously, that's talked about in the meetings when I meet, with the coaches. We go over those things that we can't allow it to happen, and obviously it's addressed. You take blame for it in the team meetings, and you hold yourself accountable as the head coach. And then obviously you got to get those things cleaned up, and it's the communication piece. Like, hey, here's what's going to happen going forward. Like, this can't happen. Here's where you guys are on the sidelines. You're right behind your coach. The communication in and out, it just can't happen.
What do you look for from your captains in asserting that accountability with players who may lose judgment?
Yeah, I think those guys obviously are the leaders of the football team. And just like, as a coach, like those guys, I empower those guys too, to hold those guys accountable too. And obviously when certain situations come up, like you guys know this, I mean, no player's trying to make a mistake. You know what I mean? They're not trying to do something bad, and things happen. And so it is accountability within those guys, but it's also uplifting those guys too and saying, hey, this is a bump in the road. If something happens, boom, we get back on it, and we got another game, put it behind you, and let's go to work.
On a related note, we talked a little about Xavier Howard. That was a rough day. But how much do you get involved in defensive personnel decisions, or do you kind of give him that latitude? Whether you make a change, I don't know, but how does that play out? Yeah,
as the head coach, obviously I have final decisions on all those things, and we have those conversations throughout the week. And looking back too, like with Xavier, like those were two elite, receivers that we're going up against last week. So again, we'll go through the process this week and evaluate everything like we do every week.
I'm curious, when you were in the Chargers with Geno, like it took him 4 more years to get another starting opportunity after that. But like, did you see things during that year that maybe led you to believe when he did get that opportunity?
Yeah, I sure did. I had a chance to work him out too, coming out of the draft when I was in Cleveland. So I got to know him there, and then obviously got a chance to be with him for that year at the Chargers. But I think it always goes back to that preparation and that work ethic. Even in the offseason when we signed him, he was a 6 a.m. guy studying the playbook. His notebook was just notes galore, going through everything. He studied, like he was the starter, and then obviously being around Rivers and being in that room, I think that's great growth there. And then obviously to see him get his opportunity, I wasn't surprised by the success, that he had in Seattle.
I know people always talk about Baker, Geno, Darnold as kind of those examples, and now Daniel kind of, piggybacking off of that. Are there any common threads between Geno and Daniel that you've seen?
I think it always comes back to the work ethic and the preparation. Like, you can't cheat your work ethic, and the guys at that position that work the hardest usually are pretty successful and have success, at the position. And he put in the work, put in the time, and so very excited, for him and what he's
Shane,
doing.
you said it starts with me a bunch of times about a bunch of situations. Can you expand on that? Like, what do you mean? What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, there's accountability. Like I said, it happens in this meeting room, and then you got to go take it to the practice field. And so, I'm in charge of all of it. So I oversee all of it, Greg, and that's part of my job. And so when something happens that shouldn't happen, it's on me. I'll take full responsibility for everything that happens.
You literally have people that count 11 in the booth. Do you have a kind of?
Yeah, usually, yeah. And on that situation, we missed it.
Both sides of the ball.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey Shane, Pittman Jr. having such a great year right now. What is it about that you're liking what you're seeing from him, and why he's becoming so valuable to you guys?
Well, again, it goes back to what I've hit a whole bunch here is the work ethic. His consistency. He shows up for his teammates every day. The toughness, the grittiness, and he's making a ton of plays for us right now, and we got to continue that. But he's just a reliable target that you can always count on.
Shane, you were here obviously for Shaq Leonard's peak.
Yeah.
But you saw from afar, I'm sure. Just what do you recall?
Well, obviously, I'm excited. He's retiring at Colt. But yeah, he was the ultimate guy taking the football away, punching that ball out. He played relentless. Just a ton of respect for him. Me and him still talk. He'll text me, every couple of weeks or every month, and we text back and forth and wishing us luck. So just excited for him. Retiring at Colt, just a ton of respect for him as a player and person.
How rare were his instincts?
They were freaky. He was wingspan. I don't even know what it was, but it was crazy. And the way he was able to punch the ball and round the football and get those tackles, it was special to watch.
Do you remember anything about that 19 opener? I know you got to go way back, but prepping for him.
Yeah, there's no question. He's one of those guys that's like, hey, this is a game changer. And, really obviously ball security was preached a whole bunch with him. Like, hey, we're going to the line of scrimmage. You got to have that thing high and tight because he's coming after it. And he was a sideline guy that could fly around and make a ton of plays, a ton of tackles. Just a tremendous competitor.
There's Shane Steichen, and you can kind of tell this has been a little bit of a long week, and we're only halfway through it. But you come off a loss like they had on Sunday to the Rams, and it's going to be a little bit of a long week, and it should be a long week, not just for Steichen, but the whole staff and the entire roster. So hopefully Pierce clears protocol. Hopefully Goncalves is good to go this Sunday. Hopefully Kenny Moore keeps ebbing in the right direction, and you have a full team on the field this Sunday. That would be optimum. If you can't, you got to find a way to win this game, because the Raiders, you know what, you start looking at this schedule like we were saying, and this schedule gets a little bit tougher as the season goes on. You got 3 out of the next 4 games at home and winnable. You need to get that done if you want to win the AFC South.